So what's it going to take for people like AOC to wake up and recognize these might be some pretty serious problems in bigger cities? Let's get into it with tonight's party panel from the Benson Show on Fox News Radio. He hosts that, as well as being the political editor at townhall.com. Benson is here. So freshly partied. Hello, Guy. And we've got Fox News political analyst, the one and only Juan Williams, and the delightful Foundation for Economic Education writer and liberty activist, Olivia Rondo, is back. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you.
Hey, Kennedy.
Hey. So, Guy, I will start with you. What is the point of saying the things that we're seeing and the things that people are scared of? What is the point of saying that that's not happening?
Well, we see this a lot from progressives, right? When
Yes.
they are injecting racial indoctrination into schools, they say that's a figment of your imagination. Rising crime, riots last summer, it's mostly peaceful. Just calm down. Don't worry your little head. This is right-wing lies coming from right-wing media. So this is sort of more of the same from AOC. They're so used to gaslighting, or at least attempting to gaslight, that they can either ignore or just flat out lie about video after video after video and insist that people not trust what they are seeing with their own senses, seeing, hearing. Never mind all that. It hasn't really panned out. Meanwhile, we've seen the videos. Here in Washington, D.C., there are actual local news segments instructing people how best to avoid carjackings while pumping gas. This is not a figment of people's imagination. This is not some sort of right-wing fever dream. This is real, and I think that more Democrats, the more that they ignore it or try to explain it away or deny it, I think they do so very much at their peril because they seem rightly out of touch. And the last point is, Kennedy, I think that part of the reason that she does this and others like her do this is they don't want to have to grapple with the policy consequences of some of the things that they advocate. And so rather than looking at those negative consequences and grappling with them as serious people, they deny their existence, which is certainly a bold strategy.
But Juan, oftentimes they go too far in the wrong direction, and then the pendulum swings back. And when there is a crime surge, what you end up with is a larger police state with no reform at all. And, you know, that's the opposite of what they claim to want when they were talking about defunding the police. But Guy is right. You know, this is a common tactic used when a phrase or a situation is no longer convenient. You know, it's like James Carville complains that, you know, this wokeism is what did Democrats in Virginia. And AOC is like, woke is not even a word, you guys. Like, we don't use that word. Only people over 50 use the word woke. So what can you actually do? I mean, shouldn't you say crime is rising in cities in order to combat it effectively?
Yeah, but I mean, look, first of all, I must say I was stunned when I read what she said because it made no sense to me because to me, I can look at the videos and I see what's going on. I hear what's going on. I hear the complaints from the retailers, from Walgreens, as well as from people at the fancy jewelry stores and designer fashion clothiers. So I didn't know what she was talking about. So I looked into it a little bit and saw that, in fact, there are people in the Senate, including Republican Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who talk about the people who resell these goods, that these young people that we see are, in fact, being used by people who then go get online on the internet and resell these goods at a certain profit. And the suggestion coming from those politicians is we need to focus on the people who are making money and behind getting these young people in. Now, I don't think AOC was quite as clear because what she said opened her totally to the kind of criticism that she's getting. But I will say that, to my mind, I don't know about the racial element here. I think a lot of these kids look to be black and brown. But I think the big argument is about what allows them to think they can get away with it, and that has to do with bail, that has to do with the kind of immunity that someone under 18 has if they're going to be charged or not charged for taking goods under a certain amount. Yeah. I think that's the real conversation here.
Olivia, your thoughts?
Well, I have to ask myself, and I think we should all ask ourselves, what do the Democrats have to gain by causing all this political unrest with all these Black Lives Matter riots last summer? It created looting. It kind of was a catalyst for this big smash and grab or smash and run type of robbery, and what do they have to gain from creating the political unrest that has allowed this to happen and denying that it's happening? So my theory is that AOC is basically acting like these Democrat-run cities like New York City, like Washington, D.C., like San Francisco, where petty robbery under, I think, $1,000 is basically decriminalized. You can basically walk into a store and pick up whatever you want and walk out, and you'll be okay. And I think that they're painting this perfect, picture-perfect image of these Democrat cities to basically trick conservatives and trick these young people in these cities into thinking, wow, I'm a racist if I don't want to live here. I'm a racist if I don't think that, you know, this city is perfect. Or I'm a racist if I don't like the way this city is being run, because they paint it as a racial issue. Like I said, when they were looting during the Black Lives Matter and George Floyd riots, they painted it as a racial issue when really it was provocateurs and it was criminals taking advantage of a very, very sad and somber situation. So to your point, this is not going to help police reform, because it's either going to, they either want to completely defund the police and ignore the problem, or the pendulum is going to swing the other way, where in turn the police state will grow in size because it's not being addressed at all.
Yeah, with no reform at all whatsoever. And, you know, then where are you? I don't think anyone wants to find out, because both scenarios are pretty bad.